Hello and welcome to the Botany class. We were discussing on the topic plant physiology, and today we'll be dealing with tropisms in plant. Tropisms in plant. What is tropism? It is a unidirectional movement of a part of a plant or the whole plant towards the direction of stimuli. Stimuli is the plural for stimulus. So, the plant part or the whole plant will move towards one direction, and that is based on a stimulus. It is based on a stimulus. Tropism in Tamil we call it as சார்பசைவு. ஒரு திசையை நோக்கி தன் இயக்கத்தை செலுத்துவது, அதுவும் ஒரு புற தூண்டுதலுக்கு ஏற்ப, stimulus. So tropism is on one direction, that is the plant or the part of the plant, it moved towards that direction, and that is based on a stimulus. Listen carefully. Based on the nature of stimuli, there are different types of tropisms: phototropism, geotropism, hydrotropism, thigmotropism, and chemotropism. Now, what is phototropism? Part of a plant will move in response to light. It will move towards light. Example, stem of a plant or shoot of a plant, it always move towards light. So light is a stimulus. What is geotropism? A part of a plant is moving in response to gravity. Example, roots, they always grow towards gravity. And that is why it is called geotropism. That is an example for geotropism. Hydrotropism. What is hydrotropism? Movement of a plant part towards water. Water is a stimulus. For example, the root as well as the root hairs, they grow towards the water. And thigmotropism. What is thigmotropism? Movement of a plant part due to touch. For example, these climbers, climbing vines, கொடிகள், beetle vines, வெத்தலை கொடி, and money plant, they have a weak stem. They cannot stand by themselves. So they need a support. So they twine around. They grow by clasping, by clinging to the support. They will climb on the support. And that is due to the touch. Touch is a stimulus. Then chemotropism. The movement of a part of a plant in response to chemicals. For example, the growth of a pollen tube. What is the growth of the pollen tube? You would have heard of pollen grains. Pollen grains are the male reproductive cells. So these pollen grains are found inside the anther of the androecium. Androecium is the male sex organ. During pollination, the pollen grains are transferred from the anther of the androecium, that is the male sex organ, to the stigma of the gynoecium, that is the female sex organ. So, when the pollen grains, when they reach the stigma, they begin to germinate. They grow. When they grow, they produce a tube, and that tube is called pollen tube. And that pollen tube is directed by a stimulus, and that stimulus is a sugary substance. So due to the secretion of a sugary substance by the stigma, the pollen tube germinates, and that is called chemotropism. So In this slide, you can see what is phototropism, movement of plant part towards light. Example, shoot of a plant. What is geotropism? Movement of a plant or a part of the plant in response to the gravity. Example, root of a plant. Hydrotropism, movement of plant or part of a plant towards water. Example, root of a plant, root hairs. Then thigmotropism, movement of a plant part due to touch. Example, climbing vines. Chemotropism, movement of a part of a plant in response to chemicals. Example, growth of a pollen tube in response to sugar present on the stigma. Now, the next slide. Tropism is generally termed as positive. What do you mean by positive tropism? When a plant part is growing towards the signal. அப்போ அந்த தூண்டலின் திசையை நோக்கி அந்த தாவரத்தினுடைய ஒரு பகுதி வளருமானால் அதற்கு நாம் பாசிட்டிவ் ட்ராபிசம் என்று சொல்லுகிறோம். And negative tropism. What do you mean by negative tropism? If the growth of the plant part is away from the signal, அந்த தூண்டலின் திசைக்கு எதிர்ப்புறத்தில் எதிராக அந்த தாவரத்தினுடைய ஒரு பகுதி வளருமானால் we call it as negative tropism. Shoot of a plant, it always grow towards the light. And the root of the plant, it always grow away from the light. And that is why we call the shoots are positively phototropic and the roots are negatively phototropic because they grow away from the light. And shoot system is negatively geotropic. That is, it grows against the gravitational pull. It will not grow along or towards the gravity. That is why we call it as negatively geotropic. And the root system, it always grows along or towards the gravitational pull, and it is called as positively geotropic. Now if you see, for example, if you keep a potted plant either horizontal or upside down, after 1 or 2 days or even after a week, you can see the stem tip, it bends or curves and it will grow towards the light. In the second video, I told you what is the reason behind it or what is the principle behind it. Because the principle is auxins. Auxins, they help in the curvature of the stem tip, or otherwise I told you coleoptile. That is the sheath covering the plumule. Plumule is the embryonic shoot, I told you in the last class. So that coleoptile will grow towards the light. Why? How do they curve or how do they bend and they grow? For example, that is a monocotyledon seed. I told you on the last video, a monocotyledon seed. For example, a paddy is a monocotyledon. So that coleoptile will curve or bend towards the light. The reason is auxins. Auxins are hormones. They play a very important role in the curvature or bending of the stem tip towards light. Okay, you know all that. If you would have studied my second video, you would have come across all those details. Okay, we move on to the next topic, that is called nastic movements. See, nastic movements, we call that as திசை சாரா அசைவுகள். ஒரு திசையை நோக்கி வளருவது அல்ல. That is why they are called as non-directional response to the stimulus. அதாவது இதில் அசைவு இருக்கும், ஆனால் இந்த அசைவு தூண்டலை பொறுத்து அமையாது. தூண்டல்னா என்ன அர்த்தம்? ஸ்டிமுலஸ். அப்போ தூண்டலை பொறுத்து அமையாத அசைவுக்கு திசை சாரா அசைவுகள். ஒரு திசையை நோக்கி அவைகள் நகரவது இல்லை அல்லது வளருவது இல்லை அல்லது அவைகள் வளைதல் அல்ல, வளைதல். So nastic movements, or non-directional response of a plant or a plant part to stimulus. அப்போ இங்கே ஸ்டிமுலஸ் இல்லை, முக்கியம் இல்லை, தூண்டலை பொறுத்து இந்த அசைவு ஏற்படுவதில்லை. And based on the nature of stimuli, of course, when you speak about nature of stimuli, here again you find light is there, touch is there, temperature is there, but it is not unidirectional, it is not in one direction. You cannot prescribe or you cannot pinpoint the direction. For example, photonasty, a movement of a part of a plant in response to light. Photonasty, we call that as ஒளியுறு வளைதல். So here you find, for example, there is a flower or a plant called Taraxum officinale. Now this Taraxum officinale, this plant, these flowers, they bloom in the morning and those petals, they close in the evening. Similarly, there is another plant by name Ipomia alba. The common name is called moonflower. It opens in the night and it closes during the day. So this is called photonasty. And what is the principle behind this photonasty? For example, in this flower, what happens at the dawn? At the dawn means morning, early morning. At the dawn, slowly, gradually, the temperature increases. When the temperature increases, the interior inflated cells with water. What is inflated cells with water? Because due to the entry of water, the cells are swollen. The cells are bulged. And what will happen? Already I told you about turgidity. Do you remember that? You heard of that in the first video. Due to entry of water, there is a pressure developed inside the cell, and that pressure is called turgor pressure. Due to the turgor pressure, the plasma membrane goes and pushes the cell wall, and the cell wall also on the opposite side, it produces an equal pressure. So that condition is called turgid. So it is inflated or bulged. And what will happen? That will push open the petals because of due to increased turgor pressure, the petals, they will open. But in the night time, what will happen? The internal cells will deflate. Deflate means just like when you prick a balloon with a pin, that balloon, that gas or air will release out and it will come into a shrunk condition or flaccid condition. அப்படியே அந்த balloon சுருங்கி போயிடும், deflated balloons. அதே மாதிரி தான் in the night time, the water will leave the internal cells so that it will loses the turgidity, and in the morning the petals were pushed and they were opened, they were in open condition, but due to the deflation, these petals, they close, and this is very good for these plants. It has been found out that when the petals, they close during the night time, they protect the pollen grains from being wet in the night dew. இரவு நேரத்தில் பெய்கிற அந்த பனியினாலே அந்த pollen grains அவைகள் நனைந்து விடாமல் இந்த மலர்கள் மூடுவதினால் அவைகள் பாதுகாக்கப்படுகிறது. So, and in the morning they will open, and in the night they will close. So it is not in one direction. And then thigmonasty. What is thigmonasty? Movement of a part of a plant in response to touch. அப்போ தொட்டால் சுருங்கி அந்த பிளான்ட்டை போய் தொட்ட உடனே அந்த இலைகள் என்ன பண்ணிக்கிறது? அப்படியே மூடி கொள்கிறது. Those leaves will fold and they will droop. What do you mean by drooping? Hanging unevenly. இங்கிலீஷில் droopingனா அப்படியே தோலன்னு தொங்கி போயிடுறது. அப்படியே they hang unevenly when touched. It is also known as seismonasty. The other term for thigmonasty is seismonasty. So, seismonasty means தொடு உரு வளைதல், தொடுவதனால் வளைதல் ஏற்படுகிறது. திக்மோனாஸ்டினா நடுக்கமுறு வளைதல், நடுக்கமுறு வளைதல். Example, Mimosa pudica. And I told you the principle behind this in the first video itself. The water from the leaf cells, they move via pulvinus. Pulvinus is the leaf base. So the turgidity falls. When the turgidity falls, the leaves, they fold. And after some time again, water will enter into the leaf cells. Turgor pressure is developed. Turgidity is maintained. So the leaves, they come to their original position. Okay, that is called thigmonasty or seismonasty. And then the next one is called thermonasty. What is thermonasty? Movement of part of a plant, and that is associated with the change in temperature due to the change. For example, tulips and the tulip flowers, they are beautifully colored. These tulip flowers, they bloom when the temperature increases. So that is called thermonasty, movement of a part of the plant, and that is mainly due to the increase, changes in the temperature. So I close here and we will continue again.